Why has the topic of extraterrestrial life been ridiculed and pushed out of public discussion for decades? According to the Akasha-Interviews, this development may be the result of deliberate influence on public opinion. This video explores why small discussion groups and open conversations could play a key role in preparing humanity for first contact. Hello, my name is Frank Harfer, and in the Akasha-Interviews I work as an information medium, documenting and publishing questions and answers about consciousness, humanity, and our place in the universe. With that said, let's turn to the question. Entry A. 276. What happens to our society once first contact has taken place? Part 4. Society undergoes constant change. Today your society is different from what it was 10 years ago. If you begin to speak publicly about intelligent extraterrestrial life without anyone being discredited for doing so, your society will have taken a great step forward, and we will also say why it is such a great step. When people discuss a topic, they have usually already thought about the subject beforehand. Many people first inform themselves about a topic and then start dialogues with other people in order to examine the subject more closely. If a topic appears to be sensitive, then much effort has usually been made beforehand to present the topic in a very one-sided manner in order to steer public opinion in a certain direction. The topic of intelligent extraterrestrial life has been influenced so negatively over decades that today it is almost impossible to discuss this topic seriously in public. Yet, it is a significant topic of global importance, and that is exactly the problem. If it were not so significant for humanity, it could easily be discussed publicly and seriously. Many individuals in your history of the last 80 years have ensured that this topic could not be seriously discussed without the supporters of the topic being discredited afterward. The people responsible for this already knew at that time that intelligent extraterrestrial life exists, because they were either confronted with it directly or had evidence that these beings actually existed or exist. But they decided that it would be better to ignore this topic, or even better, to sabotage it. What do we mean by that? If someone does not want to think about a problem or does not want to talk about it, then they ignore all attempts at discussion, or they ensure that others do not talk about the topic either. It can be said that the people at that time were forced to make the topic unacceptable in public, because there was already a great deal of speculation about it, so ignoring the subject would not have been helpful. Much was done to make the topic appear ridiculous, and as everyone can easily see today, they were very successful with it. How can humanity seriously discuss a topic that has been sabotaged for so long? This is hardly possible unless evidence emerges that proves the exact opposite. If evidence becomes public that proves that intelligent extraterrestrial life exists or has existed, then this topic will be discussed without it being able to be ridiculed. Your news is structured in such a way that it is only really read when it can polarize. A piece of news that does not capture the spirit of the times in a sensational way is hardly noticed by most people. Therefore, the news would have to take up this topic and discuss it seriously, but that will never happen, because the leading figures responsible for these news outlets will never do it. If they were to try, they would soon no longer be leading figures. How can the topic then be discussed seriously without the participants being discredited? By the people discussing the topic among themselves. This only happens when the individuals are convinced and are not public leading figures. There are niches in your society where groups of people come together around certain topics in order to discuss them without sabotage. If such a group of people had a platform on which they could discuss, it would truly be a group. If a person were to provide a discussion platform on which our texts could be discussed seriously, then this group would grow. and all members would be strengthened in their conviction without individuals stepping forward who believe they must become a leading figure, because leading figures are always driven by ego. Take this example and apply it to all of humanity, and you would quickly notice that the topic may only be discussed by people who, in the true sense, must not become a leading figure. How can a person who has knowledge of the topic manage not to appear as a leading figure within a group? For this, the person would have to keep their ego under control, and this is difficult for most people to practice. But if such people exist, they would always stand out in a discussion by never losing patience, even in a heated debate, and by never conducting a conversation in an offensive manner. Now, everyone knows what is required in order to found such a group. One or several such groups would not only quickly spread the frequency pattern for the recognition of intelligent extraterrestrial life, they would also ensure that more and more people publicly discuss this topic without appearing as a leading figure. If a person is chosen to be a leading figure, it is different from when a person presents themselves as a leading figure. All of your so-called experts present themselves as leading figures on a topic, and you should quickly forget what these so-called experts say. If a group elects a leading figure, then the future leading figure knows that they can also be voted out again, and therefore they will be careful not to act against the statutes of the group. Even elected leading figures are driven by ego, but with elected leading figures, a strongly ego-driven leading figure can be replaced by a less strongly ego-driven one. The population must begin to discuss the topic seriously, and never your well-known leading figures from radio and television. You begin this in small groups, and if you refrain from arguing like a leading figure, you can quickly and easily expand the knowledge about this topic. You will then ensure that later this topic can also be discussed seriously within the entire population. But always hold back when you notice that you yourself are becoming a leading figure, because then you harm the topic more than you support it. In the next part, we will describe the society that will form after first contact, because much of what we will describe will sound unbelievable to you today, and we will give some examples of how first contact took place on other planets. Look forward to it, because you will then receive information that will give you advantages for the future, since you will already know where the journey is heading, so to speak. This entry, along with many others, is available on my website. The content is published in German, but modern browsers make translation straightforward. You'll find a direct link to this blog entry and further helpful information in the video description.